And we are back, Bullheaded Podcast, per usual. And I am here with Zoo and Peebush. How you guys doing?
Doing all right, man. Bulls had a tough loss against the Mavericks. That was just a rough one to watch, but it was bound to happen after a 9-game winning streak, man. But I don't know. I'm happily surprised with Georgia's win last night. So I know we'll get
Mm,
into that later, but something different, something a little different, I should say.
yeah,
Still
slightly.
SEC, but not Alabama.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked, man. I'm a little shocked. I had a free bet from DraftKings with the opening of New York sports betting. They gave me $25 to bet. I put my money on Alabama. I lost it all.
Down the drain.
Yeah.
But the positive news, Sean, I had the
Mm.
most epic fantasy football game ever, man.
Yeah.
This is for
Really?
the goal. First place, baby. I beat him by 0.04 points, man.
My
0.04.
God.
And I
And
was
who
playing
did you
against
have?
and I was playing against Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Hunter Renfrow. So he got 3 dudes left.
Yeah,
and
Renfrow.
that game was like the most historic comeback ever. He almost brought the upset on my team, but thank the Lord that game ended, man. Thank the Lord that game ended because my
Hell
God,
of a
Justin
game.
Herbert, dude, that was the most insane game ever. Like Justin Herbert, shout out to Justin
Yeah.
Herbert, man.
Tough
Like,
loss.
The kid is so
super
good.
tough.
Such a shame. Such a shame he's not in the playoffs. Such a shame.
Yeah, we get everyone's favorite quarterback, Derek Carr.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, we get Derek Carr in the playoffs. No shade to him, but I think a lot of people would kind of want to see Justin Herbert. But going on the playoffs, wild card weekend is upon us. A bunch of really intriguing matchups. I will say there are some matchups, like for instance in the NFC, Dallas and who is it? San Francisco. Did not think that was going to happen. I was really thinking it was going to be Dallas and Arizona, but it ended up being Dallas, San Francisco. So those are just one of the few matchups that I saw that kind of piqued my interest. So I'm going to ask the guys, their predictions from wild card weekend. And Zoo, I'm going to start with you, and we can start with the NFC.
For the NFC, man, that Cowboys 49ers, I think that's the most. I could see an upset. I can see an upset. Absolutely.
I agree.
This 49ers team, man, the way they run the ball with Elijah Mitchell and Devo Samuels, my Lord, their running attack is incredible. And even Jimmy G, he showed something. Like he had a pretty awful game.
Yeah, he did.
But leading that fourth quarter drive, man, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. Like he's pretty good at leading drives. It reminds me a little of Derek Carr too. Like very similar type levels of players. Like pretty mediocre, but they got some nice little moments right there. But the good thing about the 49ers, you don't need to rely on Jimmy Garoppolo to get it done. Like the past couple of weeks, like George Kittle, that guy's just like a lineman right now. Like the dude's not even playing receiver or playing tight end right now. The dude's just blocking because their running attack is so good. And I feel like the Dallas Cowboys, 3-point favorite at home, pretty much that's a nothing because it's home field advantage. So pretty much is a pick 'em between these two teams.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the Dallas, they have not impressed me. They beat the brakes out of the Eagles, but they didn't play any of their players. So I didn't get much out of that game. So the inconsistency with the Dallas Cowboys, my Lord, I can't believe it. I might have to pick the 49ers with the upset against them because I do not believe in Mike McCarthy as a head coach of like making big time moments. Like if it's a close moment, like managing timeout, don't believe in him. Dak Prescott, he's been really up and down this season after he got injured. Like sometimes he looks great. Like against bad teams, Dak looks great. But against good team, he looks pretty mediocre. And I think the 49ers are a pretty solid team. So I don't know. Like I love my boy Zeke, but he hasn't been the same this year.
He finally admitted it.
Dude, this dude barely hit 1,000 yards, bro. He barely hit 1,000 yards, and that's with an extra game. Like he got 1,002 yards. Like, but this is the greatness of Zeke. A bad year is 1,000 yards and 10 tutties.
I mean, no, yeah,
that's
you're
a
right.
bad season.
Yeah,
that's a bad season for Ezekiel Elliott. 1,010.
As we know, I mean, you could consider this a bad year for Mahomes too, right? I mean, he threw, pretty much a total of the last 3 seasons interception-wise for him in this season. He's nearly matched that number. So, hey, man, if you start off your career like an absolute god, your expectations are going to be super high, and both of those guys are the epitome of that. But Zoo, I couldn't agree more, man. I think this is I think the Rams-Cardinals game is also, talking about a close matchup, could be a good game. Obviously, division opponents that have played each other twice this year, split both ways. But Zoo, I do got to go with you. I think the upset in the NFC is the Niners. The only thing is, man, if Jimmy G's finger starts bothering him, it looked like he was missing a couple throws. I know he threw, I think, 2 picks against the Rams in that game. Absolutely horrible first half for him. Maybe it was just the jitters of, hey, we need to kind of control our own fate right here because Thank God they did, because I did not want to see the New Orleans Saints in the NFL playoffs.
Nobody wants to, man.
That would have been brutal, especially with Taysom out, Trevor Siemian, man. Like, just sign Trubisky at that point. But, I mean, I am watching the Niners. I do think that the Cowboys are going to come out with a huge game plan for Debo specifically. Micah Parsons is going to need to have a field day because Jimmy G is not very mobile. He's obviously, he learned under Tom Brady, not the most mobile guy. Jacoby Brissett, also not a mobile guy. But he knows how to work the pocket. And if the Cowboys are not getting any pressure whatsoever, I think he's just going to have a field day throwing 10, 12-yard routes to Kittle, Debo, and Brandon Ayuk all day, on top of being able to run the ball with Debo. So I'm going with the 49ers. I'm having winning on a Robbie Gold field goal, man. So 27-24. Yeah, I think good as gold, man. Good as gold.
I like that.
Oh, I can't take that. That's been a Bears thing for years, man, when he was there. I can't trademark that. But good as gold, baby.
Yeah. I probably would say in terms of interesting matchup is the 49ers and Dallas. Just because I feel like with the 49ers, I know they're going to do some semblance of ball control, whether that's lining Debo up in the backfield, pounding the rock. People look at Kyle Shanahan, his DNA is running the football. So I think if they're able to do that consistently, run on Dallas's defense, and maybe, Jimmy G can not make because the thing with Jimmy G is, and the reason why they kind of drafted Trey Lance this year is because they just kind of thought even though it's kind of crazy to say because he got to a Super Bowl, he's not the guy that can get him there. But to me, Jimmy G's always been a consistent quarterback if he just limits his turnover. So if they're running the ball effectively, maybe he won't have to throw if he's, throwing around 20, 25 times in the game. That can maybe get them in a low-scoring game and keep Dak and them off the field. Because to Zoo's point, Zeke hasn't really been – because I know the 1,000-yard, 10 touchdowns is a down year, but if you really look at it, somebody brought this point up on a random podcast I was listening to, but if you look at the extra game and, like, how the NFL has progressed in terms of games, 1,000 yards is not really a lot of yards. Like, once you start getting to maybe the 1,500 plateau, 1,400-yard plateau, like the Derrick Henry level of rushing yards, that's where you look at it as like, okay, that's a guy that's getting a lot of yards. Because I think he ended up finishing 8th or 9th in the league, and he missed like half of the season, which is insane. So to me, it's like, Zeke's production has been dwindling. So, Dallas does have a lot of receivers. So if they're able to get, I think, on top of teams, with the aerial attack, that might be something that can maybe be a detriment to the 49ers. But you guys know why I'm going to the NFC, man. It's the Eagles and Bucks. Like, I'm dying with that ship. Like, I feel like there is absolutely no pressure on the Eagles, like I've been saying the entire time. I do think what the Bucks, they've been saying Levante David, Shaq Barrett, a couple key guys, they're going to be ready and they're there. But until like I see a report saying they're going to actually play, that's two big defensive starters that, is one less guy that's going to be going towards Jalen Hurts in the I would say in the pocket. And Miles Sanders has an outside chance. Maybe they just put a huge cast on his hand. He won't be a threat out the backfield, but that's why you have Gainwell and other guys. The Eagles could maybe make it interesting for a half. And if it's close at half, I could see, not saying Tom's going to dwell under pressure, but it could get interesting because the Eagles, I think, like I said, they established a run game with Jalen Hurts. And one thing about, I would say, any Tom Brady-led team, to me, it's always about making him uncomfortable in the pocket.
That's true.
And I just feel like if the Eagles can make him dance in the pocket, it's a chance that it could get weird. Like, and plus, too, they're going to be playing in Tampa, which is not a cold weather environment. So I think that even makes Jalen a little bit more of a better situation. So that's, I would say, not a heart pick, but more of a head pick. I mean, it's more of a heart pick over a head pick. So that's probably
picking the Eagles.
Team in the NFC. Yeah, I probably would pick the Eagles. Probably would pick the Eagles. Just because I just feel like the back-to-back, I put it this way. If the Bucks win that game and then they end up probably playing the Packers, I probably would bet the Buccaneers. I know that's a little foresight, but that's because Tom then would have so much confidence just off of, dude, I've been here before. I've done this. And all the pressure is on Aaron Rodgers. All of it. I don't care if they're up 28-0 if that game hypothetically happens. Aaron's got all the pressure. So it's like, I'd rather knock Tom out early. And I think Jalen Hurts, I don't know who else in the NFC, you could say maybe the Rams, that could, I think, would knock the Bucks out in the first round.
I just think the Eagles can do it. They just have any pressure. Now, watch. They'll probably get beat 35-3, but I'm really hoping on the ball control and Jalen Hurts not having any pressure. So
it's going to be a time of possession thing, and I think that the Bucs have historically been one of the best rush defenses in the league, and I think that that's a detriment to pretty much the entirety of the Eagles' attack because. I don't know, man. Quez Watkins actually scored a touchdown, but Jalen Hurts wasn't throwing the ball. So, it's different when
Minshew Mania.
Yeah, Minshew. So, I mean, if their offense, if they do have Miles Sanders, that is huge. We saw Boston Scott have, pretty good workload, great out of the backfield. Kenneth Gainwell can do the same thing. Jordan Howard at the goal line. But it's really just like, can they get around to Vita Vea, Ndamukong Suh, all those guys on the front that are healthy at this point? I don't see it. I hope it's a good game because, like you said, they're just kind of shooting the shit right now with this team. I mean, nobody expected them to be where they are right now. They locked it in even before the final week, which I think confused a lot of people because it was technically they were locked into the 7th spot.
Yeah.
But, with all the or tiebreakers and all that in the NFL. I mean, it's possible. I mean, a lot of people, I think, are betting on the Eagles because it's the best betting odds. And, who the hell knows with Tom Brady throwing to Brashad Perriman every down. But if Mike Evans can stay healthy, Gronk's healthy, and they get Leonard Fournette back, if they can. Playoff Lenny is back to play, baby. So, that honestly, I think that ends up being a crucial point in that game of, whether or not you're a betting man or not, trying to take the Eagles or take the Bucs, straight up. Playoff Lenny, if he's playing, because him out of the passing game, man, that gives Tom a completely new weapon that he has been missing sorely over the past like five weeks or so.
Yeah,
man,
I will say that.
Wow, I can't believe you picked the Eagles for the upset.
That's more hard, man. It's
hard, man. He's been talking all year about him.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like you and Zeke, man. Come on.
I know Jalen Hurts had a beast season. This guy had 10 rushing touchdowns this year.
Oof. Matched Zeke.
Unbelievable. Yeah, exactly. He matched a freaking running back. So, but yeah, like I'm watching that game. I won't be surprised. Be alive. 40-15, man. Like I don't even think it's gonna be a close game at all, man.
What is the spread in that game?
It's 8.5.
Bucks,
8.5.
8.5. Yeah. I think that's about right. But I feel like, I just feel like the Eagles are just not that good of a team. Like they barely made the playoffs, 9-8. That's definition of mediocre. Like that's just the mediocre.
Yeah, it's like a tick above mediocre.
Not even. They're lucky to make the playoffs, but not lucky as the freaking Steelers for making the playoffs, man. Because they should have tied, man. That game, dude. I remember watching that game. I'm just like, man, not gonna lie.
Are they setting this up?
Dude, like I swear to God, if I was the head coach in overtime, when they went to overtime.
He planned it.
Let's just go. This is a big playoff.
Did you not see that? Supposedly that they were planning to do it until the Chargers decided to call that timeout.
I don't know about that because
who were they going to play? They were going
to play. No. If
they were going to kneel it.
No,
that's what Derek Carr, because Derek Carr smiled and looked over at the sideline right when that timeout was called, and he's like, "These guys really going to try and do this to us right now?" Because they were playing in case they got the ball back, right? Just to make sure it wasn't a tie. I don't know, man.
I don't know, but I feel like the Raiders I think they were playing to win in OT because if they lose or if they tie, they would have had to pay the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
Yep.
And
now they play the
Kansas
Bengals.
City Chiefs, Cincinnati Bengals. I'd rather play the Bengals. No offense to the Bengals, but I don't want to play Mahomes in the first round. Yeah, but I still rather play the Bengals. So I can see their thought process. But my oh my, if I was like the head coach and the other head coach, I'd be like, give it a look. Be like, yo, fuck the Steelers.
I know, right?
You down for this?
Dude,
They've won enough.
Legitimately, man, because like that was like the most historic comeback I've ever seen. I never seen a guy make more fourth and 20 finishes, man. This dude got first downs like out of nowhere, out of his ass, man. Like holy crap!
That fourth and 21 touchdown.
Dude, that hurt, man. I'm just like, holy shit, man. I was up like 20 points, bringing Justin Herbert in the fourth quarter, pretty much brought his team entirely back. So I'm just like, wow, hell of a performance. The coaching, a little sus,
They're
man.
gutsy, and
he is
Chargers.
like. Yeah, the guy.
Too many analytics. Yeah. Too many analytics.
Like known for going for it every time. This is the guy that doesn't like kicking field goals. Like I still remember him blowing the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. They completely outplayed Kansas City. Yeah. Got to the red zone like I don't know how many freaking times, but went away with nothing because they went on fourth down. So I'm just like, this guy got a lot of thinking to do. Because you got a stud in Justin Herbert right now, who's not in the playoffs, and you got a average Joe and Derek Carr. without a head coach, without his wide receiver in the playoffs, which is a miracle story. What the Raiders have pulled off,
story.
It's a miracle.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
Be a 30 for 30, man.
Yeah, seriously, all these bad things keep happening to him. They couldn't control. And Derek Carr and Hunter Renfrow, he got 2 tutties. Oh, this guy's having an incredible season. Hunter Renfrow is taking over as wide receiver 1 on that team, but it's a miracle that they made it. And the Steelers, man, they just lucky to be here. But that is gonna be an ass whooping. Ass whooping minus 12.5. God damn, man. They're projected winning by 2 tutties, man.
That's disrespectful to
that
Pittsburgh.
Is disrespectful.
I know they're bad, but come on, 12.5. That's a huge spread.
Najee might feast though, low key. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, Najee's gonna eat, but Big Ben, keep it with the shootout with Patrick Mahomes. Stop.
No.
Stop.
That was once in a lifetime that happened last Sunday.
Too hard.
That little thing with Baltimore. And then let's keep it all the way 100. If Lamar is healthy in those times he's playing against Pittsburgh, they're probably in the playoffs over him. So kudos to Pittsburgh. This is what they do. Or
if they decide not to go for a 2-point conversion every once in a while, they might actually win a game.
Stop listening to your players and be the head coach. Why don't you? Like you say, why don't you actually make the decision? I know it's cool and social media picks it up, but I kind of figured if he make that's like Jalen Hurts actually won me a game. The few games I won in fantasy, he actually won me a game off of doing a 2-point conversion.
There you go.
Might have been against the Bucks, not sure, but yeah, you got to listen to your gut as a head coach, and he may say he's with his players, but that probably cost him a playoff spot. Now, some people may argue if they got in the playoffs, who knows if Lamar would have been ready, but I'd rather be in the playoffs and have to make that decision. So, Pittsburgh to me, 12.5 points is super disrespectful, but hey, I mean, you are going against Patrick Mahomes, and we've seen what he's done in the playoffs so far in his young career. So that's a game I'm interested in looking at. Bengals and Raiders is super interesting because I don't think before the season nobody thought those teams were going to be in the playoffs.
Nope.
So the fact that Joe Burrow has kind of ascended to this top-tier quarterback and Derek Carr, like you said, he just put duct tape, just whatever on the ship and just kept moving, and he got the team into the playoffs. So that kind of makes them an interesting dark horse. And I do think it's something to them not wanting to play the Chiefs. They definitely wanted to play the Bengals, which,
they got whooped by him earlier in the year.
Yeah, they got whooped, but I just think they're probably banking on it. I don't know, has Derek Carr ever been to the playoffs? I'm not sure if he has or not. Because I'm about to say banking on inexperience, but
either way, it's either like one game or I wouldn't say it's much of a difference.
I don't think so.
Yeah. And he has to play on the road in Cincinnati, who has been starving for a good football team there.
And with
the whole Marvin Lewis days and all that, and now they got their boy who's he's on a rightfully so cocky trip right now, dude. He's been popping off lately, Joe Burrow, and they're going to be riding that,
definitely
into
this
week.
Joe Burrow has definitely got the confidence and the swagger to have Cincinnati as a perennial power in the AFC North. So, that game to me is probably the most interesting in that side of the bracket with the wild card, just because it's two teams that are we didn't expect to be there. So you can almost say they're not playing for anything, but in that next round of that matchup with, say, whoever wins that, I don't know, they could maybe get on a streak and get to the conference championship, one of those teams, especially if I think if Cincinnati got through, because then they really would be playing with nothing. So
because they can shoot out with anybody.
Yeah,
we saw them do it with the Chiefs, and that's the best of them.
The one game I'm not interested at all is Pat's Bills. I'm just not.
Oh, man.
I'm just not big on either team. I think
here comes the running game.
Yeah. I think Max kind of regressed
which
a little bit.
Speaking of which, man, once the Bills started using their running backs, they started winning games, man. As I was saying,
man. He had a strong finish. He had a really strong finish.
He had a great last 4 games for fantasy purposes, and it's working for them. So I'm interested to see how Belichick reacts to him.
Yeah, I think Belichick's defense is going to be ready. That's why I just feel like it's going to be a defensive game with running the ball. I'm not really confident in both. I know Josh Allen is supposed to be taking the next step, but I just haven't liked what I've seen from him this year. And Mac Jones hasn't looked good the last couple of weeks. I know the last game of the season, it was Miami, whatever. You're not really focused. You're looking towards the playoffs, but he just hasn't looked good the last few weeks. So that's the two. That game right there, I'm not interested in at all. So it will be interesting though to see once we get through this wild card weekend and we get to the actual divisional round and stuff like that, who actually gets matched up where. Right. Because we all know it all comes down to the quarterbacks. And there's a lot of legacies on the line, outside of Brady. like you say, I'm selfishly rooting for Mahomes and Rodgers because I just want to see that matchup.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be mad if Burrow and Rodgers went against each other, or Burrow and Kyler went against each other. Like, I wouldn't be mad at that. It's a lot. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. Like, it's a lot of quarterback matchups. I would say now of like it's more new guard in there, so I wouldn't be mad at any. Like when I saw the playoffs kind of got lined up, I wouldn't be mad at any Super Bowl. Like I don't think there's any combination of AFC NFC that gets into the Super Bowl that I'd be like, I don't want to see that. Like maybe if it was like
Titans, Niners,
Pats, Eagles.
All right, okay. Well, yeah, but that ain't happening because the Eagles bounced,
like,
baby. Come on,
that's not happening.
But like, if you're thinking like Titans, Niners, like that's possible. And that'd be boring as hell, man.
But that's really the only one. Because every quarterback that would get to the Super Bowl, would be like they're outside of what Brady and Rodgers and Mahomes would be like their first Super Bowl, and they're kind of relatively young. Now Tannehill isn't, but like you say, let's just say hypothetically, if like the Eagles and Burrow got there, that would be pretty interesting just because it's two young quarterbacks that nobody thought would be in the Super Bowl. So it's like that would be crazy for ratings. Right. But I'm excited about this playoff this year because there's a lot of young quarterbacks. I wish not Burrow, but I wish Herbert would have got in because that really would have solidified. Like, man, there would have been almost no bad combinations because just seeing Herbert like run around and do what he do in the playoffs, like that would have been pretty cool to see. Which he'll get there, but I don't think there's any bad matchups. Yeah, super that division is super stacked, especially if Derek Carr continues to play at least at a decent level, and if he gets a really good head coach coming in next year, that could be one of the toughest divisions in the whole league. So
yeah, and you have another division where there are 3 playoff teams. Mm-hmm. You got the NFC West, man. You guys, are you picking Kyler? Are you taking Stafford?
I'm taking the Rams. I
don't know if D-Hop. I don't know if D-Hop's coming back. If he's coming back, then
I don't think so.
Yeah, if he's not coming back, then it's probably lights out for the.
Now, if Cardinals. Edmonds and Connor both play, I mean, the first game that they played against each other this year, I think the Cardinals rushed for over 200 yards in total between Edmonds, Connor, Kyler, etc. And they stomped on the Rams. And then the Rams came back and kind of picked off Kyler a couple times, made him uncomfortable in the pocket. Didn't allow anybody, I think, over 60 yards in that game rushing. And the Rams won that game. So I mean, this is probably the hardest game to bet on. I think. Yeah. If you're trying to pick between the two straight up,
I'd stay away from bet. I wouldn't bet it.
I would stay away from it. But at the same time, I mean, it's in LA, home field advantage in LA. Does that really mean much? I mean, not really.
I don't think it does at all.
And those Arizona fans like to travel, and they're pretty close by.
It's not far away either.
No, so right down the road. I wouldn't call it a home game, but they're treating it betting wise as a spread. I'm pretty sure it is around +3. For the Cardinals, but I'm going with the Rams too. I just don't think they'll be able to stop Cooper Kupp. And if Cam Akers has a big game since he got his foot under his feet,
Cam Akers going to play?
I think he would play. Yeah, he played last game a little bit.
Significantly, because I feel like it's the Sony Michel show right now. This guy's taking the role from Darrell Henderson.
Yeah, he is. No, I think it's going to be Sony, and I think they're going to run with Cam Akers. Especially, I think they're going to use him in the passing game more so. And then allow Sony to kind of break through.
Yeah, I don't agree with Cam Akers coming back. I don't understand it. Like he will come back. I just don't understand it. It's an Achilles injury and it's 5 months off. Like, what are you doing?
That's true.
Like I could maybe see if it was a Super Bowl or like a conference championship, but it's like, dude, like you're a running back. Just take the whole year to me. Like you should just take the entire year to get right and then come back next year and kill. Like you said, they got Sony Michel. Which Sony Michel, let me tell you something. I got a small bone to pick with Sony Michel. I love how towards maybe I guess you could say the fourth quarter of the season, he started coming on when I had him basically the entire beginning of the season and he did absolutely nothing for me. Even once Darrell Henderson got hurt in fantasy, couldn't do anything for me. So it's like, I just find that hilarious that he now towards the end of the season started doing stuff. Actually, one of the guys in my league, he didn't win it, but he actually got him towards the end of the season. He's all of a sudden making pretty decent numbers for his fantasy team. So I just thought that was hilarious.
It was all in spite of you, man. All in spite of you. That's the only reason.
But I mean, like you said, last year I got Gibson on a whim, thinking, let's see what this rookie back does, and he helped me out. And then I got burned by him this year. So overall, great fantasy season for me. But going back to the playoff talk, I don't know. The Rams, to me, they're another one of those teams that has a lot of pressure because now, depending on the COVID situations, like they're talking about the Super Bowl may be moved, but pending that they're able to play the Super Bowl in LA, like that's a huge motivating factor. So that's always a lot of pressure because, you saw Tom do it last year, which that's just the ultimate story. Like, if he would have retired, then that would have been like perfect because he was able to bring the Super Bowl back to Tampa, which is just crazy. So, I know LA's looking at their chance. Like, look, we got Stafford. We kind of told Jared Goff, look, you're not what we thought you was. So Stafford's got to come in and actually produce because it's not like he doesn't have a lack of weapons. He has a lot of weapons on his side, and all those defensive guys are superstars. So he's got to figure something out. And McVay, I can see he adds a lot of motivation to other teams because I don't know if you guys saw the clip of him running around, jumping in the end zone, high-fiving. Like, if I'm another coach on another team, like, that's firing me up. Like, you're just not going to be running around high-fiving and thinking we're all cool. Like, nah, that ain't going. You can't do that.
They caught the loss anyway.
Yeah, like, I don't know. That's a little bit collegiate for me. I don't like all that. Like, if you're going to be an NFL coach, act like you've been there. And he's been to a Super Bowl, so he's definitely been there. So, I don't know. That's another game that, like I said, if I'm betting man, I'm not going anywhere towards the game because it's a division game. And anytime you're dealing with division games, anything can go because it's just a lot of bad
Pats
blood.
Bills, same way.
Yeah, that's another reason why I don't like that game because it's another matchup I don't want to see. Yeah, too much. So, like I said, wild card weekend, a lot of interesting storylines. We're definitely going to see the games unfold this weekend and be talking about that next week. Really quick, I wanted to touch on the national championship game between Alabama and Georgia. If you guys were actually watching the game, first half was a huge snoozer, a lot of field goals, a lot of defensive stops. I feel like that just happens because they played each other so many times over the years. So I guess it's more of a filling out period. But surprisingly, Georgia came and, stepped up to the occasion and beat Alabama, which a lot of people picked. So I wanted to ask the guys what was their opinions on the game, what players stood out. And Peebush, I'm going to start with you, man.
I mean, I got to give a shout out to Stetson Bennett, man. I mean, this kid, he's got pretty cool storyline, walking on at Georgia, always wanted to go there, ends up going to junior college, comes back on scholarship the next year. Nobody wants him to start, whether the nation or even Georgia fans, they all wanted JT Daniels to come in. Not a huge college football guy, as I've mentioned, but, you've heard the name JT Daniels thrown around as them wanting him to be the starter for that Georgia team. Yeah. And man, look, he proved them wrong. I mean, he got absolutely destroyed in that SEC championship game in Atlanta by the same team that he beat last night. And he comes out, throws they didn't ask him to do too much. They, told him to run the ball a little bit, just open it up. Goes for 225 and 2 touchdowns, man. Had a huge fourth quarter for that team. Really put it all together, got Brock Bowers going. Pickens had that really nice catch down the field on the fingertip grab in the first half. Was unbelievable. I thought he hit his mark, man, and you could see it. Just he was breaking down after that win. I think it all just finally hit him, and I'm just happy that it's not Bama. That's all I got to say. As a not major college football fan, but I do enjoy watching it. It's nice to see somebody a little different, even though Georgia has been in the game in years past. They've never actually gotten over that hump. And even Saban, man, look, he was fighting down to the last second. He's calling all 3 timeouts with 40 seconds left. He's like, we got enough time. Bryce Young just make one play. So seeing Saban lose, man, it's a weird feeling, but it's also a good one for me. So I do got to shout out Stetson Bennett overall. Not sure if they ended up giving out an MVP award or not, but it should have been to Stetson if it wasn't. Because he came over all the outside hate, just focused on his game, and he came through for his team.
Man, I was so disappointed.
Yeah, that's what happens when you bet.
Yeah, no. I was scared because, not gonna lie, my boys at FanDuel gave me a free bet. This is the bet: over under 40 point plus 40 over under total points.
Yeah,
and it was a double up, so they lower the odds for this as a promotion. So I'm like, man, they're gonna easily hit 40. First half, 9-6. Oh, I was shaking in my boots, man. 9-6. I was like, what is going on? I put $50 down because it was a max bet double up. I'm like, this is money in the bank. And then the third quarter, I'm like, thank God that they finally scored. That was the first touchdown was in the third quarter. Like, it took forever to have the first touchdown. And then the fourth, beautiful. So thank you very much. Even though, Georgia, you beat my team, but you helped me double up my money. Thank you very much. So I was pretty happy in that game. But my God, Alabama, that pick 6 to end the game.
Yeah, that was a nail.
I thought he could pull it off, man. I gave him like a little 20% chance of pulling it off, but man, what a way to end the game. And another touchdown for the Bucks of Georgia, man. The score does not indicate like that game was definition of a close game. Like it looks like it's a blowout, but that was a really, really hard fought game, man. Props to Georgia. I doubted you, but one thing I was right about. I thought Alabama was the favorite. Vegas had Georgia as the favorite.
Yeah. Yep.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Georgia, isn't Alabama the higher seed?
Yeah, I think that was more because Alabama beat them in the championship game. But Georgia, the entire year, if you looked at the rankings, like they kind of held that number one spot. Yeah. So, like, and plus two, they looked at their defense as being historically great. So I think that's why betting wise.
Yeah.
Plus two, if you think about like, you know how they always say the teams, it's hard. I always say it's hard to beat a team 3 times or whatever, but that may be more of a basketball term. I think in football, you usually play a team twice. So the fact that Georgia got embarrassed because they didn't just get beat like, you know, a close game, and they got kind of embarrassed in the SEC championship game. So the fact that happened, I think Georgia had a lot of motivation, and that's why they keep building casinos, man. Like they had an inkling, man. Those Vegas boys, they know what's up. They kind of know that Alabama kind of felt like, you know, it's just natural, and you got to think age kids. So regardless of how Nick Saban runs his ship, they're going to be thinking they're, you know, for lack of a better word, the shit, because they just beat the hell out of Georgia like a couple weeks ago. So they're not thinking like they might think Georgia's defeated. And plus, two, Alabama had this psychological advantage because if you go back in 2017 where Devontae Smith caught the game-winning touchdown pass that Tua threw when I think him and Tua were freshmen, like Georgia, you know, was on the precipice of getting over the hump because, you know, the running, not joke, but the narrative of Georgia is a lot of Georgia fans talk a lot of mess because they're always good, but they've never gotten over the hump ever since like 1980. So the fact that they were always getting there but never winning, then, you know, a lot of people are like, okay, you're talking all this junk, but you haven't done anything. You haven't won. Bama's won all the championships, so you can't really talk. And Georgia thought they had them that year. So then everybody kind of thought, okay, if Georgia can't win it that year, then they're never going to win it. And then this year came, and then Georgia was the, you know, ballyhooed as the best team ever. Then they got stomped in the SEC championship game. It's like, they're never coming back now. Like,
yeah.
So then I think Bama fans and a lot of America was just looking like Bama's the number one team. They're going to be able to do this. And I think Georgia, that's what fueled them. So, you know, Stetson Bennett, like you said, I'm with you people. It's like he deserves a lot of credit because they tried to basically bench him since the beginning of the year, even though Georgia was winning, because they just didn't think a guy of that caliber could get them to a championship and actually win it. And he
could be Bama pretty much. Yeah. That's really what they were worried about.
And this is what's insane about this. Like, I always hear people today, which I think this is crazy, but they're saying like Stetson, because of that game, has a chance to get drafted in the 7th round and be like a career backup. And I was like, he may get an invite, but being a career backup just based off that game, that's asking a lot. Because
he'd have to take some steps.
he's, I would say, probably 5'10" at the most, maybe 195. Like, that's going to be, like you say, he can get an invite, maybe with the Falcons, who knows? But, you know, that's the kind of hype he's gotten since, you know, he won that game last night. So it was a huge shout out to him. His story is incredible. You can look it up on ESPN or any other channels that talk about it. But, yeah, just a major salute to him because, to me, he really was the difference. Like, you know, Bryce Young had his moments, but, you know, that pick six and just some of the decision-making, you know, people forget it's his first true season starting. So, you know, he kind of had a lot of pressure on him, and, you know, he'll be back next year, and Bama will be able to, you know, go back to the number one seed and do what they usually do. But this was important for the Georgia football program because this was needed to be the year because even though Bama's Bama, this was a super young Bama team. A lot of their best players are super young players. So it's like if you want to catch Bama, you need to catch them right now because next year might be a little bit more difficult. So it's just a major step for them. I will say in college football as a whole, like it is getting to a point where I really hope that like teams out west and the few powers that we have up north, if you can really count Ohio as a northern team, but like maybe Michigan, Penn State, teams like that, and then obviously out west with USC, Arizona, any of those programs, hell, even Texas, like there needs to be more of a balance with those teams getting in because I do feel like the sport is getting really regionalized, and I've always kind of known that, but last night really crystallized it just being on social media and seeing like the amount of people, and even looking at some of the shows today, like just watching the reaction, like a lot of people didn't lead off with it, like they maybe had a mention but not like a huge segment or a huge talking point on it, just because like the sport has really only been prosperous in the South. So I really do hope that teams with these new hires with Lincoln Riley and all these other coaches, that they're able to get into the party so it makes it more interesting. Or if that doesn't happen, they expand it. So this and make it more of a sport that's people will be more interested in. Because, like you say, if you look at the last 10 years, it's been every SEC team outside of Florida State, Ohio State, and Clemson. There's really only teams that's got in since probably 2010 that's had a chance to actually win it. So
those are still Southern teams, except for Ohio State. So
Florida's an interesting case because, to me, you can maybe make the case for Florida State because if you look where Tallahassee is, it's right near the Georgia border. And if you've ever drove to Tallahassee, it's pretty much South Georgia. So I would say that's South. But when you think of Miami, that
different
kind of just feels like, it's its own island, man. It's not even, I don't even think it's part of the United States. It's not even the South. So maybe a program
say
like
it, but
that.
They're island boys, man. They're island boys. That's Miami down there.
Clemson definitely the South, but it's a lot of and Ohio State for parts of it. I mean, they're Midwest, but if you just, I don't know, a lot of their culture with their program is kind of Southern leaning. So I just hope for the benefit of the future of the sport that they actually end up adding more teams or adding more spots so teams can get in and make it more interesting for people to watch. So we'll see what happens there. Like I said, the major focus is going to be with the NFL this weekend. Like I said, a lot of interesting matchups. Stay tuned for that. We'll be putting that up on bullheaded_pod, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, the whole nine. Make sure you guys subscribe to our podcast page. We're on Anchor, which is our host site, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, all of that. And for me, Zoom P. Bush, we're out.